Throne and Liberty's been playable in early access for a few days now, and the full free-to-play release is on October 1st. I've been playing since the start of early access. I've been max level for a few days now, wrapped my head around most of the core gameplay systems, and overall, I'm having an okay time with the game. I'll make a more
What do you mean okay time with the game? Oh my god.
in-depth video on my thoughts next week once I've...
In fairness, the game is probably like okay if you don't play with anyone. Like if you don't have a guild and you're not playing with anyone, right?
Put a bit more time into it. But in this video, I want to talk about my experiences so far as a new player, and also give a bit of a warning to other new players jumping into the game on October 1st, as this game's progression system seems to be designed to completely you if you haven't played the game before, if you haven't...
I would say that that's actually a fair complaint. I'll be honest with you. Like, if you don't know what you're doing, it just completely cooks you because you waste all your upgrade mats on stuff.
Spent a lot of time researching the progression, and most importantly, if you haven't decided 100% on what weapon combo and build you want to play. If there was ever an MMO to watch one of those 10 mistakes to avoid as a new player videos, it would be for this game. So let's start with
100% the truth, and you need to know what weapons you're going to play right out the gate, because if you don't pick the right weapons, it sets you back. Like, you basically just have to restart. Like, it's insane, bro.
The number one most important thing, and I cannot emphasize this enough. Going into Throne and Liberty, even if you've never played the game before, you need to research what build you're gonna play, or at the very least, try out each of the weapons early in the game, and how...
I did some... I'll be honest, I disagree with that a little bit. I did some build stuff early on, and then I realized that all of the people that made build guides for Korea were like 100% wrong for our version of the game. And so I've been kind of just figuring out what I need myself as a healer, and just been kind of rolling with that. I'm pretty sure melee evasion is king, and having mana regen is really good as a healer.
Have this decision locked in before level 20. I watched a lot of content prior to the release of this game in preparation, and every video was saying the same thing. Know what weapon combo you want to play. As a new player, this is...
You also have to think about the two biggest alliances. That's 500 to 1,000 people that are having an amazing time, and probably the fall off is pretty steep. No, that is completely wrong. Yes, we are having an amazing time on Cherno, but that doesn't mean that you're not having a good time on another server if you're just playing the game. Like, this game has incredible PvE. Even if you don't like to PvP and don't PvP at all, the game is really fun to play in PvE, and just to play with your friends, to do like the dungeons and then go to the bosses and stuff and like progress and whatnot. It's a lot of fun. I'll admit the life skillings are not super great, but like everyone is kind of having a great time right now, even if you're not in like the super alliance. Now, if you're not in one of the... Ethereum and like the streamer alliance are on the same server with one another, and if you're on Cherno and you're not in one of those two alliances, yeah, you're probably not having a super great time if you're trying to do PvP. That's just the way that it goes. That's just... It is what it is. Okay. But like, you can just change the server, it doesn't matter. But like, everyone is having fun at this point.
Not an easy decision to make.
I'm not playing BDO anymore. I'm having an amazing time indeed. Yep, that's where we're all at. Like, I'm getting that a lot of BDO players that I've talked to are like, yeah, we're just not logging into BDO anymore. It's not even worth doing.
Because you don't get a full feel for your build until level 50 with all your abilities. Some weapon combos also look really cool in YouTube videos but feel clunky as hell to play, so some of you might get to level 50, decide you're not enjoying your weapon combo, and want to switch only to realise that you're going to be massively set back. On the surface, going in blind, you might assume that because the game doesn't have classes and your class is basically whatever weapon you have equipped, it might be somewhat similar to New World, where it's really easy to change your role.
Nah.
It isn't. In fact, I have never played an MMO that's designed in a way where you basically need to be following a build guide from the start.
I wouldn't say you necessarily need to follow a build guide from the start, but I will say that you need to be very careful when upgrading your gear, not to upgrade. Like, it's okay. Like, let's say you upgrade the wrong piece of blue gear, right? Well, that's not the end of the world. If you upgrade the wrong piece of purple gear, it's gonna hurt, right? But it's not going to hurt that bad, because you can just transfer your purple gear into your the purple gear that you eventually want someday. It's not the end of the world in that regard, but like generally speaking, you just want to get like whatever greens you want to upgrade. It doesn't really matter all that much. Whatever blues you want to upgrade are okay, but you're going to get to purples relatively quickly. By the time you reach purples, you're like, okay, is this the thing that I actually want to upgrade? If it is, then you can get your purple to 9 and transfer it, right? You can transfer purple to purple? I think so. Can't you transfer purple to purple, chat? Do all your ultimate edition unlocks go to all created characters or just one? I heard it's all created characters, yes. Yes, you can. Yeah, so you can transfer purple to purple. So it's not as like doomed as Lazy Peon is letting on here. It's not nearly as doomed in this case. So like you don't necessarily have to follow a build guide per se. I will say that you should figure out what weapons you want to play, because like if you f up your weapons, you're cooked. You're so cooked, because like getting the weapon mastery and like the skills leveled up and all your skill books and stuff, that's cooked, right? So like the weapons are the most important thing that you have to get right. The gear, you can get the gear wrong and fix it, but like changing the weapons is like a huge problem. Like what's his name, Stoops rolled his weapons off and he had to spend like thousands of dollars to correct the mistake. So like don't pick the wrong weapons.
MMO that's designed in a way where you basically need to be following a build guide from the start. Let me explain why changing your weapon combo is such a pain in the ass in this game.
Yeah, so it's not really the build guide he's talking about. He's talking like, and I would recommend that new players watching, you should not be looking at a lot of build guides from Korea or like old build guides, because their version of the game is different than ours, and it's completely different. So like you need to be asking like live streamers, or you need to be asking like YouTubers that are playing our version of the game what you want to be building, and like follow their advice, because like if you build the wrong thing, yeah, it can set you back. It's not the end of the world, but again, it's the weapons that he's talking about. If you f up the weapons, you really are getting shit on.
Game. First of all, you've got the weapon mastery system. This is basically an additional talent tree specific to your weapons. You gain weapon mastery for just using your weapons. Let's say you play TL for 1 month using the same 2 weapons. Then you decide you want to re-roll. You're then going to be significantly weaker with the new weapons because the masteries will be level 1.
Well, not just the masteries, all your skills will be level 1 too. If you start as like a staff wand and then you want to play great sword and shield, everything has to be redone from the ground up. You have to start over basically.
Weapon mastery
Weebo, thanks for the prime sub.
takes quite a long time to progress, so having to start again feels like a huge setback. And
like when you start Third in Liberty in the first place, it gives you a lot of skill books and stuff for free, and getting your mastery and stuff is like a little bit easy the first time you do it. The second time you don't get that bonus, and it's rough.
Probably the main deterrent for changing builds, especially the further you progress in the game. Second, you've got the skill leveling system. In Throne, you level up your skills using skill books to make them more powerful.
Yep.
You'll get tons of these books from progressing the MSQ, doing exploration quests and one-off content rewards. Once you've obtained and spent all these skill books, they'll then become a bit harder to come by. Instead, you'll obtain them mostly through daily content such as contracts and open world dungeon farming. If you decide to change weapons, you'll need to either level up a fresh set of skills from level 1 without the massive influx of books that you get from the MSQ,
yep,
or you'll need to—
That's exactly what I was saying. Like you just like the main story does give you like a lot of books and stuff, and so leveling your first pair of weapons is not that bad.
use skill transfer scrolls, which can be obtained via the battle pass currency. You might actually have a bunch of skill transfer skills just from level up rewards, so transferring skills might not be a big deal if you only change weapons once, but once you've used them, they seem quite hard to come by. Finally, you've got the gearing. In this game, you'll get gear starting at grey rarity, then green, blue, and purple. If you level up a piece of green gear to +6, then get a piece of blue gear drop, you don't need to separately level up the blue gear.
Yeah, and this system right here is why it's not the end of the world if you level the wrong piece of gear. Like, oh, okay, well, I didn't get the right green gear right. Yeah, I didn't get the right blue gear right. I just leveled it up because it was blue. Okay, well, that's not the end of the world, because like you want to try to get the right piece of purple gear and use that.
You can simply—
And if you up your purple one, you can just transfer it to the purple one that you want. It's not the end of the world. It's really not that big of a deal.
Transfer the green gear +6 into the blue, making it +3. So there's no reason not to be constant.
I'm on Chernobog, as are most of the BDO players. There are a number of people that are on Laslan from what I understand, but like some of the BDO players are spread out among the other servers, but the main content is on Cherno.
Constantly pumping your resources into gear. The same can be said going from blue to purple. A +9 blue can be fed into purple gear, making it +6. That being said, when you try,
and that is exactly how you should level up your gear, by the way. You don't want to just use.
Resubscribed for 4 months. I am ready for a Farium Foot Raw.
Oh, let's go, Riven! Welcome back for 4 months, man. Really appreciate you. Thanks so much, buddy. This is how you want to level up your gear. You want to transfer your max level blue gear, your max level. You want to transfer max level green into blue, max level blue into purple. Okay, and purples can transfer into purples at any level. It doesn't matter. But like you want to transfer your greens to blues and your blues to purples. That's how you want to level up your gear because that's the most cost efficient way to do it. If you just sit there and click the upgrade button with the books, it takes way longer and more resources.
Gear, you do lose the gear you're transferring from. So if you want to play 2 different weapon combos with 2 different gear sets, you're going to need to level multiple sets of gear, which is probably something you should only do if you've already maxed out one build already, otherwise you'll be weak compared to everyone else. Don't make the mistake of flirting with the idea of re-rolling, transferring all of your gear over to something else, then changing your mind wanting to switch back.
And that's why I went with Wand.
You'd have lost the original gear. Other than that, one mistake I could see new players make is wasting their daily contract rights on low-level contracts, aka the yellow quests.
Oh yeah, I could see that. Yeah, you there's a main story quest line, guys, that has you do 4 contracts. You only want to do those 4 contracts. Don't do any more contracts than you have to. Then finish the main story, and once you get level 50, that's when you want to do all your contracts.
At around level 12, you'll go talk to a contract manager and need to do 4 contracts.
As a healer, wand bow or wand staff. Wand bow, I think, is a little bit better for healers because you get like a better mana regen skill, but wand staff gives you the opportunity to like do a little bit more damage when you want to play in PvE, I think.
Contracts.
I mean, you have like a little bit more AoE.
As part of the MSQ. You're limited on how many contracts you can do per day, and the rewards for high-level contracts are much better than low-level. So do the 4 contracts for the MSQ, then don't do any more until you hit level 50. Also, when doing contracts, you want to accept one, refresh, then accept another until you get a contract pop-up with an epic reward. You don't need to...
Yeah, oh, okay. Guys, this is what the epic reward looks like. It'll have like a little sack here. You didn't do necessarily a super great job of explaining this. All of these look the same, but like you want to get a contract and hit this refresh button until you see something like this and you want to pick that up. I've personally only seen one of those yet. I've only seen one of those though.
To accept all of the contracts
and I've run like 100 contracts.
Another tip I have is that the default gameplay control settings for this game are kind of bad, and there's some things you're going to want to change to make it feel less clunky. Go to Settings, Gameplay Controls, and enable Q skills, toggle basic attack, toggle charge skills, and toggle aimed skills.
I have all that enabled, right? I'll try that. I haven't done that yet. I'll try that, but I'm not sure what the other 2 do. I'll trust them though.
I also recommend enabling auto-target nearest enemy when attacking without a target.
This one is crazy. You gotta have this one, bro. This one is so useful.
This is especially useful when you're AoE farming mobs, so you don't have to tab every time one of them dies. The final thing you should not do as a new player is dissolve your random green or blue gear, as TL has this really confusing trait system as part of its gear progression, where you can use other pieces of gear to put traits on others to increase the traits. It's quite confusing to explain.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you have to have another one of that gear to get another trait unlocked for it, though.
So all I'll say is don't throw away your gear, chuck it in the bank and it might be useful later when you dive deeper into the trait system. But those are the main things I wanted to warn you about in this video. As much as I've had a decent time during the early access launch of this game, I'm kinda surprised by how many pitfalls there are for new players to completely screw up their character if they go in blind without any prior research. That being said, Throne and Liberty is probably the biggest MMO release we'll have for quite some time, so give it a try, enjoy the honeymoon phase, enjoy the absolutely gorgeous starting zones being packed full of players, and try to check out some of the endgame dungeons because so far I've found them to be surprisingly cool. As for my
the dungeons, the PvE content in this game is really good. Really, really good. Like way better than Black Desert's. Black Desert is just, it's not even on a... Black Desert is like a 1 out of 10, and this is like a 9 or a 7 out of 10. 7 to 9 out of 10.
My overall thoughts on the game so far after a few days at max level, there's a solid mix of things I really like and really dislike about this game, but we'll get into that in a future video. Until then, let me know your thoughts on Throne and Liberty in the comments below. I hope you enjoy the launch of the game, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong, right? Like he's right about the weapons. The build itself, like your gear itself, is not as important. It's the weapons that you really cannot pick up, and he's right about that. There's the video right here.